Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Oxcord podcast presented by Boot Crew Media and sponsored by Maker's Mark. I'm your host, Cruz Oxenrider. We have a special co-host today. He is Saturday Down South's very own Chris Marler. He's also one of my best friends. Chris, welcome to the show. Appreciate having you on, man.
What's up, dude? I appreciate you having me on as well. This is live?
Yeah, this is live, man.
We
look
good.
good.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
it was okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah, we do live streams here, big guy.
I don't know how to promote it.
It is on the Oxcord Twitter right now. We're tweeting it out, but
Love it.
I know this is a special Tuesday afternoon episode. Has some March Madness going on, and normally Nick is here helping me out doing this, but it is tax season for our guy, and he is just a tad bit stressed out. So
I don't do shit, so it's like my job is I'm not stressed at all.
Chris is a man of many talents, so he has been very gracious enough to help me out. So, Chris, obviously, for the listeners who don't know who you are, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Chris Marler. I'm a Taurus, oh shit, hold on. So I work for Saturday Down South. I ran social media for about 4 years on social for SDS, and then now I run like our video. I'm the director of video engagement and content creation, all that kind of stuff from that standpoint. And then run a podcast called College Football Uncensored. And on Twitter, my name is @VernFunquist. That's about it. Probably should put that up there, but honestly, I've been getting shit on from Arkansas fans for like the last 12 hours about a Traylon Burks take, and I did not want people to come drag me even more. So there's that.
What was your take?
So somebody posted a picture. It just shows my thighs are showing here. I got these shorts rolled all the way up. Unbelievable. I'm losing all this weight. I'm just gassing myself up, man. So I think Traylon Burks is wide receiver 1 in this class. I think, especially with Jameson coming off of an injury, I think he's a great receiver. I do think that fans have a tendency to exaggerate how good players are based on performances, especially against Alabama. And Traylon Burks is a fantastic player. I don't think putting on the Bama tape is what I would do to say, like, hey, this is why he should be wide receiver 1. So yesterday I'm on Twitter and I see something that was like, he torched the Bama secondary, and it was like, he puts like the numbers next to it. And I was like, hold on, I remember one play from that game very specifically. And he had a great game against Bama. And again, he's the best receiver in this draft class, in my opinion. But that play where he pushed off, like it was blatantly obvious.
Oh yeah.
So I replayed it, and it's a video that I had like recorded from November or something like that, whatever the game was, and people were just coming at me for like my voice. People were coming at me for how like, I'm being a bitch about this and that. And it's like, I've never had a problem with Arkansas fans. I think they're great. I think I did a video last week saying they had the best all around fans in the SEC, like for our YouTube page. And they just, it's Twitter, so people get in their feels about a lot of stuff. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think Burks is incredibly talented. I think that was a clear offensive pass interference didn't get called.
Yeah.
If we were gonna look at a tape, I go back to the Ole Miss game.
Yep, this is bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, good lord, couldn't cover the man. He kind of looked like a bigger DK Metcalf out there.
Yeah, so I don't think he's that size or anything like that. Like he's not gonna like blow you away with his size or like his his body the way DK Metcalf did with like his pre-combine stuff. But yeah, we did another podcast on this last week, and it was an adjustment more episode going back and looking at old games, and we went back and watched the Arkansas Ole Miss game. And Jesus, dude, you turn on the tape from that game, and that kid is just a man among boys. I think like that and that was mainly my point. It was like, I think I tweeted yesterday. I was like, I don't think this is your best argument if you're going to talk about game tape. Like, have you not seen the Ole Miss game? And so yeah, I mean, spot on. So
okay, well, if you have a pro comp for him, who would you say?
A pro comp for Burks? That's tough. I'm trying to think, because it's got to be somebody that would be like, I don't think he's. I mean, AJ Brown might be a better comp just because of the fact that but still AJ Brown. I don't think Traylon Burks makes you, when you see him physically, he doesn't like look like a guy that kind of jumps off the page in terms of like, I bet that guy's got a 40-inch vert. I bet that guy has breakaway speed, or like that guy's like a man among boys. He doesn't have that kind of body. I don't know, physicality, I guess. You want to look at it. And I don't watch pro ball that much because I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. I mean, who's a guy that he's not going to blow you away with his speed like at a combine, like, but game speed is a little bit different, right? Like he's not a Julio. He's not like I guess what I'm trying to say is when I think of Treylon Burks, I think of like a top 10 type receiver, but I don't know who that would be in terms of because who's
Michael Thomas maybe?
No, because Thomas even is a guy that's like physically looks like he could just do he's cut and ripped. I mean, Burks looks like a receiver out of the 90s.
Okay, so
you know what I mean?
I could maybe we could say like maybe a Greg Jennings or a Sterling Sharp.
That's actually that's probably the best one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we'll touch into it. Chris, this March, and you know what that means. Literally the best basketball month of the entire year. March
best month in general.
I don't know. September kicking off football. That's pretty tough to beat.
But I mean, like you think about the offseason, especially because we're both college football guys.
Yeah.
The offseason, especially, and like growing up in the South, there's not a better time. I grew up in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a better time of year than that 2-week window from the end of March and the beginning of April when you have usually opening day for baseball, March Madness, and the Masters all at once. And then it's spring's coming out. It's fucking beautiful.
That's pretty fair. Which the whole baseball thing's a mess now. We can touch on that later. But so far, so good for March. We're only 8 days in. We're having half-court buzzer beaters. We're having last-second finishes. The SEC tournament starts today in the first round. I'm excited. I can't wait. I think it's wide open. It's been for a college basketball season in years. I don't think Gonzaga is going to do it again. They just don't. Did
they win last year?
No, they were undefeated the entire year, and then they got blown out in the national championship game by Baylor.
That's right, yeah.
I
think I lost money on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I see Gonzaga as like a Sweet 16 team. I think they'll play to the level of the competition. They'll run into a buzzsaw that is either Kentucky, Tennessee, possibly Wisconsin, Purdue, one of those. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I got to know, so we start SEC tournament today. We're both big SEC guys. Do you think we're just like counting down to Kentucky, Auburn, or do you see someone coming in and making a huge upset and making a splash?
One, I just realized these headphones aren't even working. So it's like we're 5 minutes in and I'm learning how to do audio visual stuff. I still sound good. I'm good here. Okay. Well, now I can't hear you at all.
No, you sound great.
Okay, good. So I think Kentucky and Auburn are the class of the SEC. Auburn is, I think, still somehow underrated. I know that like our college allegiances, I think that this Auburn team has gotten shit on by the national media so badly throughout this entire season, and got like the unfair shake for a lot of stuff because they're not necessarily blue blood, no matter what their Twitter says.
Yeah.
I think Tennessee is a team that is scary to me because I think that they've been very, very solid. It's a team that beat Arizona. Granted, it was early in the season. Rick Barnes is a hell of a coach. I think it is. There's a lot of parity, and there's still a part of me that wants to say like, Bama has the talent to play into an SEC championship. They do. They won't. They absolutely won't. But I do. So I think it's top heavy in terms of. I don't think we're going to see anything like the women's tournament, which we're going to have to talk about. Not just because I'm trying to be woke Marler, but also because of the fact that fucking tournament, the way it ended, was incredible. I think it's clearly the top 4 teams. I think those are the teams that are going to compete for the title. But in March, especially, I'm never going to sit here and be like, yeah, it's just the top 2 teams. This isn't the fucking whack. I mean, this isn't, or whatever conference. Yeah. But like, I've said this before, if you told me that St. Mary's and Gonzaga played 11 times a year, I'd believe you. And like they're playing.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
Every fucking Saturday. like, what are we doing? So on Saturday, like, what do you call it? They're playing tonight in their conference tournament. This isn't like that. I don't think that this is just like, all right, let's foregone conclusion. These teams are going to get there. I do think Kentucky's really, really good, and I think that I think Auburn is too. I just think a team like Tennessee, like, I mean, in the past, where'd you go? I think in the past we've seen these situations where Coach Cal will have a team outside of that 2012 team that's like they kind of struggle early and they kind of find themselves as the season goes on, right? And then like they kind of just once it's like late February, early March, they're hitting stride. And we've seen that from I think a lot of teams this year in the SEC, like Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU's a team that could be dangerous for how talented they are. So I think it's wide open, like you said, but I I don't know. I think it's not the top 2, but I think the champion does come from the top 4 for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think Auburn, I think they have 2 of the top 10 players in the country.
Yeah.
Especially Jabari Smith. He just got announced as an All-American today, freshman All-American. He's a freak of nature. He's going to make an NBA team very happy. Auburn, I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn's in New Orleans for the Final Four.
No, not at all.
At all. But I like your Tennessee take. I think Tennessee can be a very dangerous team too. Kentucky worries me a little bit, mainly because they rely a lot on just name brand recognition. They can show up and they can win, but that's not the case this year. Like, I've seen Auburn beat Kentucky by 20.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Tennessee play them tough. I've seen Bama be able to keep up with them. So I want to see what Kentucky team shows out. I obviously wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a Kentucky Auburn, SEC title. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU can make a run. LSU's been looking pretty decent lately. They've been cutting down on turnovers. Bama, you never know what you're going to get. Are we going to get the Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston, Bama? Right. Or are we going to get the Mississippi State, Georgia, Texas A&M? So that's what really frustrates me. I could see Bama making it to the finals, and I can also see them losing in their first game against either Vanderbilt, or I believe they played Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, the winner of that game tonight. I just don't understand this Bama team, Chris. It's very frustrating. They're probably the most inconsistent team in the country as far as their ceiling and their
floor.
And their floor, because I've seen them beat a Gonzaga team in Seattle. I've seen them beat a Houston team who crushes their conference opponents. I've seen them beat a Baylor team who played in the national championship game last year.
Yeah, won the national championship.
Yeah, won the national championship game last year. So I just don't know what to expect from this team. Like, I can't hold out hope. Like, I can't pick them to make it. Like, at best, I think they'll make the semifinals.
I'm not done with this Bama team, because once March Madness starts, like you said, you're going to get invested. And, that team last year was so much fun. And I think all of us were also kind of in this situation where it was like, without getting too much into it, but like dealing with what was going on with Fluff, and then dealing with this team and dealing in this place where we had never been in, we hadn't been in before. You guys are too young. Like, I remember fucking like the mid 90s when I was like 8, 9 years old, watching the Antonio McDyess teams and stuff like that, and going to the Sweet 16, all that kind of stuff. This team, it reminds me so much of 2010 Bama football. And I know that's different in a lot of ways because they're not coming off of a national championship by any means. Yeah. But you are coming off the best team in a very long time, just like 2009 was for Alabama in football. And that 2010 team had more talent than any team maybe ever that we've had at Alabama in football-wise, maybe besides 2016. I don't know. Yeah. But I guess pre-2018 with Tua and all that kind of stuff and those receivers. But when you talk about like the lack of leadership is what frustrates me, and it's so blatantly obvious. And that's got to be so frustrating for a coach, because you're sitting here like, I forgot what game it was. It was against Kentucky. It's against Kentucky. You have a 14-point lead in the first half, and I'll just never forget. I bet on Kentucky in the first half and the full game, and I hit everything because they came back and took the lead. But that lead should have never been taken. You give up an 11-0 run in 2 minutes in the final 2 minutes of the first half, and they pan the cameras to the bench, and J.D. Davison and a couple other guys are sitting there jaw dropped, like you're shocked and stunned in a situation where you go on an 11-0 run that quickly, for sure. But there's just not at some point someone's got to stop the fucking bleeding. And so there's not a Herb on this team that's going to be like, let's just gonna, excuse my language, but just kind of like sack up and be like, okay, like we're gonna put an end to this. And, or, you know what I mean? They don't do that on this team. And I love Quinterly. I think he's been playing great, especially as we get to the postseason. Shaq has been, he's like struggling to find his shot at times, but also still good. A guy I want to shoot every time he's open. But there's not a guy that's like an alpha necessarily on that team. We have a lot of good players that would be great in 3-on-3, great in fucking 1-on-1. Hell, they'd be great on NBA jams, 2-on-2. But we don't have a lot of guys that are like Keon Ellis is the best player on this team in my opinion, and he's the only one that has like a kind of alpha mentality, but he can't do it all on his own in my opinion. That's just me though.
No, I mean I don't disagree with you. There definitely isn't a clear alpha on this team, and we thought maybe like JD would come in later in the season and kind of be that Colin Sexton kind of role where it's like, hey, like he might be a freshman, but he's clearly the best player on the court. And he has flashes of brilliance, but at the same time, though, you can clearly tell it's like he was playing high school basketball last year. You can definitely tell.
In small town Alabama.
Yeah. And I think he can be fantastic. I really hope he comes back for another year because I think it would be best for him and it would be great for our program, especially with the recruiting class we have coming in. I think next year is going to be big for Bama with the recruiting class and the returning players that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Herb is, looking like rookie of the year right now.
Right.
It's probably going to be first team defense, all NBA as a rookie. I think Primo, he's starting to get significant minutes with the
that one hurt, man.
Yeah. Babyface assassin. He's looking great. Petty, I hate that he hasn't been able to stick someplace in the league yet. I know he's had like a few stints with the Pels, but he's trying to find. I even miss Alex Reese a little bit because at least Reese, it's like, he gave you effort and he gave you a little bit of oomph. So
Senior Reese.
Senior Reese.
That's one, yeah. Well, and what's too is like, and it's a weird year in basketball anyway. It's a weird year anytime someone named fucking Chet Holmgren is going to be your number one pick in the draft, possibly. That is in basketball, not lawn mowing, basketball.
Yeah.
And so like that part is weird, but like the Primo thing hurt a lot more than I think Bama fans really knew was going to happen. Like when he was gone, I was like, fuck, that's not good. Because that kid is like, he's so young and he was still almost underutilized by us, but so talented. But when you have a guy like, and I'm not trying to single this guy out, but a guy like Bediako, who is a very talented player, like a very, very talented basketball player and skilled player. Yeah. That kid is not big enough. And again, he doesn't have like the alpha like part of him where he's going to like, I wasn't like this when I played baseball. I just admittedly, like I didn't have like the overwhelming confidence needed sometimes you have to have as an athlete. I don't think Bediako has that. I think Bediako hears all the shit that people say on Twitter and in the stands and all that kind of stuff about him. And I don't think he is like, what's that Ted Lasso thing about being a goldfish? I don't think he forgets the plays like that quickly. And he's a very skilled player, but he's not a guy that you want like down low. That's going like, he's not a dog. You know what I mean?
No, so. I get it. I think I would, and then I like the swagger Juwan Gary brings. Yep. I think him coming back next year will be big. I think he has the opportunity to become that alpha next year. And I think he's shown flashes of being that alpha this year when he gets his chance. But this Bama team is probably like one of the most frustrating teams. And you can't really pick against them or pick them to win because it's like.
You can pick against them for sure. I've been doing it a lot with my gambling. It's gone out really well.
It's like I feel like we'll eat like there's a part of me like, hey, I could see this team legitly going to the Elite Eight if they find their stroke. And then I could also see this team getting bounced in the round of 64 against the North Texas or a Davidson or somebody like that.
I have a tendency to think that, and I know what we've already said, I just feel like this team is built for a 5-game run. Like, I do feel like this team is like, don't let this team come out and let Shaq go fucking, 7 of 10 in the first game from 3 with Quinterly, because Quinterly's going to be in his bag no matter what. I like, he may not shoot the ball as well, but like that kid, I think they breed off of confidence. Yeah. And you have a guy like Keon Ellis, what he did against Kentucky. And I know we're piecing together games here, but like if Shaq and Keon are like, I mean, like, because Keon's going to give you effort on both ends of the floor, right? Which is, I can't say that for everybody on this team. But at the same time, this team has as much potential as any team in the country. Like we've already seen it. They've already beat Gonzaga. They beat Gonzaga like a drum, to be honest. And they beat, I mean, like Houston was really that only close one. I think this team could easily run. You said the Elite Eight. I think this team could make a run to the Final Four. I don't know about winning it all, because once you get to that final stage and you have that week going into the season, you realize how big everything is. But like, can they win 4 games to get there? Absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like if I was betting on it, I would bet, like, if you gave me the option of bouncing the first round or the Final Four, I would be more inclined to bet them going to the Final Four than bouncing the first round.
Okay, yeah, I like that. And so and we're just speaking hypothetically, obviously we have Selection Sunday coming up. If you had to pick 4 teams that you feel the most confident, like you get $1,000 and you have to put them on 4 teams to make New Orleans, who would you put it on? That's good. I know.
Auburn, Bama, Tennessee, Kentucky. Go SEC. No, it would be Kentucky. Honestly, Kentucky and Auburn. It would not be Gonzaga for me. I don't think Gonzaga makes it. I think Arizona, Kentucky, Auburn, and Duke probably. I fucking hate Duke.
You think it's a Coach K magic?
I mean, it's just like that whole thing on Saturday was hilarious.
So good.
When he took the mic, it was like, no, guys, be quiet. Be quiet. I want to tell me you're making it about yourself while pretending not to make it about yourself. And it inherently is something about him because he's retiring and he should have that moment. But at the same time, I was like, that he apologized for the fucking loss. It was like, what are you doing? He's like a spider that came to life. I don't know at all. It's so weird looking.
That's good. I guess if I had to put money on 4 teams, Auburn is. I think it's if they get going and Jabari Smith plays like they have it. I think it's easy run. I think it's we would just have to hear about Auburn Final Four again.
Real quick, you know who this Auburn team reminds me of for basketball? It reminds me of 2019 LSU football in the terms of you've tried to convince yourself over and over this team's not that great. Like we can hang, and then all of a sudden it's like the fourth quarter, and you're like, fuck, we're down 20. How do we do this? And they are a team that their only losses have been on the road, man.
It's close margins too. It's what? Like they lost the last possession of Florida. They lost last possession of Arkansas.
Auburn's top 20 teams. Auburn's top 20 teams besides Florida.
Yeah, but Florida's a team that is just so inconsistent with Mike White. So it's they have the quality, they have the talent, and to be a top 25 team, but their coach is just being close to Florida fans and Florida athletics. Still, Mike White is not that guy.
No,
he wants to be Billy Donovan so bad, but he never will be. So. I want to say this. We were talking about obviously putting money on stuff, Chris, and there was a certain NFL player. What a great segue, by the way.
That was good.
There was a certain NFL player that is suspended for an entire year for betting allegedly $1,500. And that's former Alabama wide receiver and former Atlanta Falcons wide receiver. Well, I guess, I don't know. I guess he's still on the team.
Oh, the NFL will find a way to pin him on the Falcons forever. They will go out of their way to shit on the city of Atlanta as much as possible. And I know you will too, but in a more fun way.
I like Calvin though. It's hard for me to be mad. I'm Bama biased. So I think Calvin Ridley, God, if you gave Calvin Ridley Tua for a full season, holy shit.
Okay. Well,
college. Look, I love Jalen, but Calvin would have better numbers.
But you're talking about in college. You're not saying that Tua over Matt Ryan, right?
Oh no. Okay. I'm talking about college because you even saw in the national championship game, it was different. And then he had great numbers with Jake the Snake, in 2015 as a freshman. But obviously, Jalen hurt his numbers. But I think Calvin is. I think he's one of the more underrated Bama wide receivers. But
because again, it's the physical thing. The way he runs with his fucking knees going all out and up way too high and shit like that. He looks so goofy. Is that a Celsius or a White Claw? Celsius.
This is it is a peach mango green tea Celsius. The Oxcord podcast, not sponsored by Celsius yet.
That's the dream, right?
That is the dream. You could pay me a free product. I would knock you. No money needed. Just give me a lifetime supply of Celsius, please.
Also a big fan of Alani's, but I don't think that's not as healthy.
I haven't had that yet.
It's a 200 milligram caffeine intake, so it's a lot. It's not as healthy as a Celsius, but no, I think the stuff with Calvin, because I didn't think Calvin would be a successful NFL receiver, and that shows you what I know about football. Because I did not think that he was. Oh God,
no, I would not, because there's 2 reasons why I wouldn't be able to handle Auburn winning a natty. One, my girlfriend just got her MBA from Auburn this past fall.
What?
She would, Kaylee, she would give me
absolute
hell. No, this past summer, this past fall. So she got her MBA from there. So I would catch current hell and would never hear the end of it.
Not Kaylee. She wouldn't do that to you publicly.
Oh, yeah, right. She would never. And then 2, I've had the great opportunity to become friends with some funny Auburn Twitter people like Pablo Escobar and
I love that dude,
Albert Einstein, and them, and it's all fun and games. But we just wouldn't be able to hear the end of it.
No, and like we've lived through it through football too. But it's like I will tell you that. I mean, this is before the whole world hated him, but my God, we were Jameis Winston fans for Florida State. We were Florida State in 2013.
And so. now he's my QB1. I love him.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this in 2018, I guess it was when they went to the Final Four. So when this is at SCS, and like I said that I was the only one on staff that said they were going to win the SEC tournament. And I mean, look at me. I didn't fucking play basketball. But I was like, and I was like, you know what? I think this team is good enough to make a run. Like I predicted them to go to the Final Four, and I loved and hated every minute of it. Cause it was like, you think about like, if we weren't Bama fans, think about how special that run was for Auburn fans. You beat Duke, Kentucky, and North Carolina. Not Duke. You beat like Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky in the same region. And fuck Kansas. Like the whole state of Kansas is just, I don't know what is there besides just $1.50 diner pie and fucking open road. It looks awful.
And it wasn't just they just beat them. They beat them. Like that Carolina game. Then they won by like 20 or something. Like I just remember it just being a blowout. And look, we can talk everything we want. And we can laugh at the jokes, but like they got screwed hard after the game.
You know what I've learned from Twitter over the past while is that no matter how good of a reason, and I'm not saying excuse, I want to be very clear when I say that, I'm saying reasons that affect games in college sports, you're not allowed to bring them up. So, ACLs don't matter, double dribbles don't matter. That's all I'll say.
And no calls in NFC Championship games apparently.
Hard to like real quick on this, and this is just my constant battle with Georgia Twitter. It is really hard. If you're a logical person, which I rarely am, when you're a logical person, it is very difficult to make the argument, hey, those ACLs didn't matter because we had injuries too. Look at George Pickens. And then you go watch the NFL Combine, not even just the national championship, but the NFL Combine, and you watch one of those players participate.
Exactly.
In the NFL Combine at the very least. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about ACLs.
And then Bama's best wide receiver at the Combine was Slade Bolden, who ran the slowest 40 time.
Okay, I have a whole video that I'm not allowed to post on SDS about that, making fun of Slade Bolden. Like, okay, I'm gonna get into it. Slade Bolden. There's not a player in the Combine who had a bigger nightmare situation than Slade Bolden. And let me explain why.
Let's hear it.
Slade Bolden showed up to the NFL Combine as the white guy. He was like, he is the token white guy. And it's going to go up here. Like, listen. And you knew how it was going to play out. He starts going out in front of like the cameras. He's like, Bill O'Brien, who used to be a coach for the Pats, he compared me to Julian Edelman. We're like, bingo, that's one. And he's like, he also said he used to use me like Wes Welker. I was like, there it is, that's two. And then he says, the Patriots have been talking to me. And there's not, besides the U.S. House of Representatives, there is not a organization that has had more like unathletic white people hired and retain their job than the New England Patriots.
You're not wrong.
Like outside of Senators, this New England slot receivers, that's it. They're the same person. So Slade Bolden comes in and he shows up and I've been hard on Slade in general because I just never thought he was that good. And he's a great dude. I'm sure he kind of looks like a thumb with a receding hairline, but still. Listen, I appreciate all the effort that you brought to the University of Alabama. I really do. And I'm saying most of this in jest. And if I saw you in person, I would have probably only say half of it. But like Slade Bolden was not good enough to start for this fucking team. Like just flat out, he wasn't good enough to start for this team for 2 years. No, absolutely not. And so he goes to the Combine, and what do we see? And this again goes back to the Georgia thing. Because when he went down, I was like, I remember my buddy called me. He goes, "What do you think?" And I go, "It's fucking over." Like when Jameson went down, I was like, what else can you expect from this team? And this is not making an excuse. This has a lot to do with the fact that Georgia, this is the best defense we've seen in college football history, including 2011 Bama. And so when you're watching them, you're like, well, we don't have Jameson and we don't have Mechie. Who's our go-to guy? Oh, it's fucking 5'10" Slade Bolden. Cool, I'm in. And so he goes to the Combine, and he's the white guy that's going to go to the Patriots, right? And then he runs the 40. He has the third slowest 40 time. Then he does the vert. He has the fourth worst vert. Then he does. Oh, I'm sorry. He had the fourth worst vert. He had the third worst broad jump, and he had the slowest 40 time out of any receiver there. Maybe I'm mixing those up, but I know for a fact
he had the worst 40 time.
Okay, because those three events, he was fourth worst, third worst, and last in the events. But the biggest nightmare has nothing to do with his metrics. It has to do with he looked up when he went to this combine. He looked up as the token white guy, and he saw another white guy. And it was an actually athletic white guy. And I'm talking about this kid, Alec, whatever his name is, from fucking Cincinnati. Because I don't know if you watched that kid balled out. like Slade got there and it was like the Spider-Man meme. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, we're different. We are built different. Like this guy had like a 40-inch vert and ran like a fucking 4.3. I mean, the Pats won't go for a guy like that. But
there was a punter. I can't remember what team it was. Oh, it was Jake Camarda. He ran a faster 40 time than Slade Bolden did.
By 0.1 seconds. like a full 0.1.
Yeah, that boy's fast. Fake punt all day.
That kid, he's one of my favorite players because he reminds me so much of like an Uncle Rico situation. Like, I don't know if you remember the 2018 SEC championship. I was joking around with Georgia fans, and I was like, if this kid could just put some fucking touch on the ball, because he hit, I don't know how many went into the end zone that day, but it was like a Joe Milton quarterback or Uncle Rico situation where it was like, hey, down him inside the 10. He's like, I'm going to kick it through the fucking roof. like what? No, don't do that.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was rough. I watched the whole combine, and I mainly just wanted to see obviously how the Bama guys would do. I think J-Mo probably would have ran
4.2s.
I would say 4.2 or at worst like very low 4.3s.
How about the fact that his average touchdown this year was like 40, was a minimum 40, or was on average 47 yards. Like,
well, first game he has a 90-yarder.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah,
first game against Miami, ripped off a 90-yarder.
I was sitting next to Clint Lamb. Shout out to Clint Lamb's watching. Is my favorite person for Bama media. And he's the best, man. So we're sitting there cracking up, or I'm sitting there cracking up because he's a professional. And I'm like on my third or fourth Chick-fil-A sandwich because they were free. and I'm like leaning back, and like it's me, him, and Stephen M. Smith, and they're both professional journalists, right? And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like cackling, like leaning back, and he just looks at me and I go, "We're so good at football. We are so good at football."
So I think you're right. It just depends. Like, Slade will be a New England Patriot. It just depends when he'll be a New England Patriot. Like, is he gonna get? He'll go. What would you say? Like 5th, 6th round, probably.
If he gets fucking drafted to the NFL,
he's gonna get drafted.
It should be to Russia or Ukraine. It's not in the NFL. Listen, and he might. He's sure he's a good possession receiver, all that kind of stuff. But in this day and age, I just I worked at a restaurant for a long time, and I'll just tell you, as somebody that worked in Atlanta at a restaurant with our demographics here, and I love this city to death, and I love that job. But just like the Slade Bolden slot receiver, some stereotypes are real. And and I'll just say that he should not, I don't care how that sounds. They are. Like, we need to all get over it, and we can joke about that. But some stereotypes are real. And the white receiver going to New England being if you're Mac, think about this receiver class. If you're telling me that Slade Bolden should be drafted in a 7-round draft in this receiver class, you're out of your fucking mind.
In the 6th or 7th round, though. But Mac already has chemistry with him. He's like best friends with him. I think he's best
friends with Damian Harris. You know that.
I know the greatest handshake of all time. That
was smooth,
dude. It is so smooth. I hope one day I'm cool enough to be able to do like half that handshake.
We could do that handshake.
Yeah.
Was it you that originally posted, or was it KDK? Because that was my favorite thing. I would go back and watch that all the time.
But it was me and KDK that blew it up, and then we were like, "This is the greatest handshake of all time." But no, I mean, Mac's gonna basically New England's gonna get whoever is there. Like, I think it'll be Chris Olave, or it'll be. I mean, I would love to see Jameson Williams in New England with Mac, even though they didn't get to play together. But I think that would be a deadly combo because God knows he just needs some help.
I just want to see that, I guess, and I want to see. I don't give a shit about that. If we're talking about Bama players, what I want to see more than anything is to get fucking Tua a offensive coordinator, because, I remember the whole thing about last year. I'm watching people shit talk Tua. The only argument you need and you say we're biased or whatever if you're listening and whatever. Like I'm so glad I get to come on this show and talk about Bama, because when I do it on my show, which again is College Football Uncensored, I'm going to plug it real quick. But we do it on my show, everyone's like, he's a homer. It's like, well, they're the most relevant team for like the last decade. I don't know what you want me to do. But the Tua thing, you don't need to look any further than the fact that Jalen Waddle, who is the most explosive football player I have ever seen put on like crimson and white, ever. The fact that kid was held to under like 8 yards of reception, like what? It wasn't just a speed. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
I think the new coach from which I think they got a really good hire. He's the OC from. They're going to use him like Deebo Samuel. Like Waddle will. I would not be surprised if Waddle is like the all-purpose leader in yards next year, just because.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because I think this guy wants Tua. He shut down that whole Deshaun Watson shit. They shut down the whole like we're going to look at quarterbacks. Like this dude knows he can win with Tua because he won with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I don't think Jimmy G's that bad. He's hot as shit.
Just because you're good looking does not make you a good quarterback.
Trust me, I know. I get that experience.
But I never believed Jimmy G was that good. I think he was a bad babysitter who played on really good teams.
That's a good point. I like that.
In fact, if Jimmy G like blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl, and he had a wide open Emmanuel Sanders down the field, but I think this guy is going to do some really good things with Tua. Tua's problem is that he's in a very tough division. He's got Bill Belichick, the GOAT of NFL coaches, with Mac Jones, and you have that monster that is in Buffalo that's not going anywhere for a
team. They're good, man.
God, they're good.
Is anybody not pulling for them? We still got to talk about the Calvin thing too, but
I mean, I think that Buffalo Kansas City game was maybe the best NFL game I've ever seen.
It was well, and then it was a lot like that Ole Miss Arkansas game, honestly, but it was even better. I used to work at a bar in Atlanta called Whitehall Tavern, and it was a Buffalo bar, and I've never been around those people, and I just remember I remember the first day of the NFL season, and I'm like, I've always been a college guy. I've always thought NFL shit was kind of stupid, and like in terms of like fans, like how do you fucking paint your face for a NFL team? I've never understood it. But I mean, people that paint their face in general that are over the age of 6 weird me out. So I remember showing up, and we opened at 11, and we had to be there at 10 to like start opening shit. So of course at 10:15, I start rolling up hungover as shit. And I'm looking in the parking lot, which is like a Publix parking lot with like an Ace Hardware and shit. Like it's not like we're not near the stadium, and we're in Atlanta, not Buffalo. And they had been out there since like 9 a.m. just crushing Labatt Blues. And I was like, these people are awesome. This is great.
You know what happens when you get two people who are severely ADHD on we go on a 15-minute rant about ending up about Buffalo fans crushing tables at Ace Hardware to now talking about Calvin Ridley. You said you had a unique take on this about the whole situation. I'm just going to let you get into it because I want to hear your take on this. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. No, so this is the thing I think with the Calvin Ridley situation. I gamble on sports all the time, and if it's $1,500. Now, there's two things I think you need to like really take into consideration here. If the NFL said that it's a zero tolerance policy. If you gamble on sports, you're done. I get it. I totally get it. And I'm not saying that he is in the right because he was gambling on sports and it's fine. We all do it. But there are a lot of things to look at here with the NFL and the hypocrisy of what's happening. And it's not just with like the stuff that is obvious that we'll get into in a second. You have 2 of your top 10 sponsors financially, like money wise and spending dollars, are gambling sites. That was in 2019 to 2020. That's not even what they spent this past year. I don't know how many times I looked up and saw a commercial for the guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm. I can't remember his name right now. The black guy from Curb, doing some of the Caesar Sportsbook. The Mannings talking about it, like the biggest and most recognizable stadium in your sport and maybe the world, the Superdome in New Orleans, changes their name to the Caesar Sportsbooks, like Superdome or whatever. Right. So it's like, and you have FanDuel and you have DraftKings and all this shit. And like, I work for a company that currently our entire revenue stream is based off of that. New people signing up, and it's like for these different gambling promotions. And now you see all across all the country, all these states that are coming. It's like weed. It's like, and maybe that's the best, or maybe that's the worst example, because fuck, man, Josh Gordon got suspended for a total of 6 years for smoking weed. And you think about how stupid that sounds in 2022.
Sure.
So my issue with this is Calvin Ridley, if he broke the rules, I get punishing him. But if you're the NFL, you are not going to be able to escape the like almost like, I don't say cliche, but it's the default comparison and argument that you're going to receive forever is domestic violence. And when Cruz said, I have a different look on this. I grew up in a home around domestic violence. I watched that shit with my own two eyes, and it's fucking terrible. It is the most cowardly thing you can do as a man, and it's awful. I'm not saying anything to break away from the Calvin thing, deflect on the Calvin thing, or say that he's not in trouble. But the NFL is responsible for this because it's the NFL. They're the ones that set the precedent. Let's not forget the fact that, like, if you're going to make an example out of somebody, make it fucking Ray Rice. Make it fucking Greg Hardy. And I'm going to get fired up here for a second, but like the issue with the Ray Rice thing is not the fact just that he knocked his girlfriend out. You have this video that comes out where he just right hook to the face, knocks her out clean, drags her by the fucking hair or arm or whatever it was through a hotel lobby to the room. That's horrifying. And again, as somebody that grew up around it, it's horrifying to see in person. And so when that happened, that video, and this is how big and powerful the NFL is. When that video came out, the NFL saw it before anyone else. Roger Goodell saw it before anyone else. And you want to talk about a high character situation? Roger Goodell saw that video knowing that no one else had seen it yet. No one else knew. No one else was like, the wiser of it all. And he said, you know what? We're going to suspend you for 2 games. 2 fucking games. Right hook to her fucking jaw, and she's knocked out cold. And you said 2 games. You said that you made that rule. That's the precedent you set. Okay? Like, you set the precedent. And so then you followed up with people like Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy was suspended for 10 games, and it was reduced to 4. And the Greg Hardy shit, in my opinion, is way more egregious than the Ray Rice thing, because the fact that what Greg Hardy did was Greg Hardy got jealous, and this backstory is incredible. Greg Hardy got jealous that his girlfriend was apparently texting Nelly, just the most fucking 2001's shit. I don't know if it was like on an Excel spreadsheet, like the Kelly Rowland video in Dilemma, but Greg Hardy got upset about this, and that part's funny. The part that's not funny is the fact that he didn't knock her out with one punch to her face or anything like that. He locked the door to their apartment and kept her captive for hours at a time while he basically tortured her and beat the shit out of her over and over and over again, to the point where if you read the police report, he picked her up by her hair and slammed her down into a fucking bed or a futon or whatever that he had laid out a bunch of guns on, just to be an intimidating psychopath piece of shit. Like, and again, I'm not saying that because I don't know Greg Hardy. I'm overreacting to something I heard on Twitter. This is an actual police report, and Greg Hardy is a piece of shit. And the fact that the NFL is like, you know what? We're going to reduce that from 10 games to 4 games. For what? For good behavior? Did he do community service? Did he fucking play Batman and intervene and play go out and was a vigilante to stop domestic violence? No. Why the fuck would you do that then? And so, again, I have a very different reaction to this because of my own personal experiences, like happens with a lot of things, and things can get diluted or convoluted with our own personal experiences. So I'm admitting all that. But when you set the fucking precedents for the NFL, you set we talk about setting the market all the time for contracts and stuff. You set the precedents. Arrest me for vehicular homicide. Don't arrest me for running a red light. And so when you've done this, and I understand it was however many years ago, maybe things are different now, and Ray Rice is out of the league. But when Roger Goodell, had more power than anyone, and you had the ability to watch a video and see that it was horrific to everyone. You watched it and said 2 games. And then you heard that Calvin Ridley made a 3, 5, and 8 team parlay in a season he wasn't playing football, and you were like, full season. You set the precedent. You made the bed, you got to lie in it. And the fact that I mean this in I don't like cancel culture, especially as somebody that's done comedy for over a decade. But in this day and age, the fact that Roger Goodell has a fucking job, and I think he's a good commissioner overall. I think he does a good job handling this stuff. Absolutely not. Overall, I think he's done a good job. The fact that he has a job after what he did with the Ray Rice thing is astounding. It's astounding to me, and that's all I have to say about it.
No, that was very well said, and I don't disagree with any of it. I think I think Roger Goodell is the worst commissioner in sports. I really do. I do.
Manfred.
I know, and that's saying something because I think Manfred is a joke as well. But like Roger Goodell has the pure definition of a god complex, where it's like what he did with Bountygate, Deflategate, how he's handled the Ray Rice thing, like the fact, like you're 100% right because I remember I was still in college when the Ray Rice thing happened. There was actually Ray Rice got applauded at Ravens minicamp before the full video got leaked out. Like he was practicing because it was preseason, and the video came out, and then but before it did, he got like a standing ovation from like Ravens fans, and then Greg Hardy was absolutely ridiculous. Another one that comes to mind is Kareem Hunt, where there's a video of him literally kicking a woman down the hallway. He got suspended 8 games. And they got kicked off the Chiefs, but then the Browns signed him. I think the NFL is just their priorities are not in line. I think if you're going to suspend the kid like Calvin Ridley, and I shouldn't say kid, he's a man, give him the same you would do for a DUI. Then, like if gambling is that serious and you hold it to the same standard, which by the way, Bud Light and Miller Lite and all these other sponsors that, the NFL takes money from, and, FanDuel and DraftKings and
I can't imagine why the gambling would have been so fucking prevalent in his mind to do. When you have that many sponsors and ads, and every time you turn on the fucking commercial, which there are a ton of, it's the only league I've ever watched where you come back from a commercial, kick off, and then go back to another commercial, and then come back to like the actual, what do you call it? Like it blows my mind.
He probably used a promo code that he saw watching an game. He probably used their code.
In this day and age too, like when you've moved an entire fucking franchise to Las Vegas, and then like, hey guys, but seriously, no gambling, like for real.
Oh, you put the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, which now is online sports gambling is legal, but they also have the Harris Casino. Like,
I love that Harris.
Oh God, I do too. But it's such a joke though. Like, look, okay, you want to make an example of the kid? Give him 6 games. Give him 5 games. Like, you're not only egregiously like disciplining this guy, but you're also taking a year off of his career.
Or yes. And here's another thing you could do. If you're Roger Goodell, be a fucking man and come up here and say, listen, here's the deal. This is where we are as a league. Like, I have to make an example out of this. Just be fucking transparent. I don't know why this is like with people, maybe this is me projecting about my ex. I don't know. But just be fucking transparent and just say what you fucking mean. You know what I mean? It's like go up here and say, here's the deal. We have to make an example out of this because if not, with how prevalent gambling in these sites and these sponsors are going to be in our world, we can't risk the fact that, or can't risk that, something happening where this is like we're compromising the integrity of games and like people throwing games or whatever. Say all that. And then also on top of that, say, I was wrong about the Ray Rice situation. I made an error in judgment and there's no excuse for it. Fucking say it, admit it, and be a man about it instead of being like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like you skated away from it. By doing that and giving 2 games to somebody that you watch knock her out. This is never excusable. The shit that I saw was in like 1989, 1990. That's 30 years ago. Oh, what happened?
The Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos have agreed to terms in trading Russell Wilson.
Oh, wow.
Russell Wilson is now a Denver Bronco.
Good.
That is
going to move.
Wow. That is.
I hope the Seahawks lose every game they play.
Holy crap. That is huge. I mean, that's okay. So, and then obviously we're going to touch on the Aaron Rodgers thing.
Forgot about that.
Show, but I mean, that was damn, like in the middle of the show. Holy crap. That was breaking news. There you go. Wow. I did not expect that. I can only imagine what that trade's going to look like. It has to at least be 2 or 3 first rounders and a few, maybe a player, but like, I can't wait. That's so great. Cause now I get to watch Russell Wilson throw the ball to Jerry Jeudy.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Yeah, which damn good for him. Like he's done so much for Seattle. Like good for him for getting out of there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
So yeah, that is. I think it's ridiculous. I think it'll get reduced. I really do. I think it'll get down. I don't know. Do you remember like the whole Bountygate situation where they not only did they suspend Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, and Greg Allen, but they also suspended Jonathan Vilma for a full year as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jonathan Vilma was able to sue Roger Goodell in the NFL for defamation of character because there was a lack of evidence. With that, I wouldn't be surprised if Calvin did the same thing where it's like, this is, I think he could win this appeal. I think he should get, some games. I think 6 games would be like a good medium. I feel like, because then that way the Falcons can still trade him. They can get, I think you can get a 2nd or 3rd round pick for Calvin Ridley. I think you could. I think even missing 6 games, like a team like Philly or New England or Miami would definitely take a flyer with him.
Philly for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be the best case scenario. I just don't know, but Roger Goodell has shown again and again that he is a coward. I think I'll say it right now. Roger Goodell's a pussy. He is. I think he's the worst commissioner in
sports. You can tell from the way he hosted the NFL draft a couple years ago. That is a guy that has. I mean, like,
yeah.
Like when he was hosting the draft, he is a pussy.
He is.
I'm laughing because one guy just called me a pussy on Twitter. But also at the same time, like in real time. But like the Roger Goodell thing, when he was like, remember they did the virtual draft, and there people are like booing him every single time they quit, and he's like, yeah, okay, well, let me hear it, guys, and it's like, shut the fuck up. And please stop doing dad jokes in your own head because it's uncomfortable for all of us to hear.
Yeah, I think I get it. Maybe when you have that much money, it's you don't really care what people think or at that point. Right. But I mean, he's not welcome in the city of New Orleans. He's not welcomed in the city of New England. He's hated. Yeah, so it's ridiculous. So we'll end it on this. I mean, we just got breaking news with Russell Wilson being traded to Denver. That division, holy shit. You have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson. And then, I mean, if you're the Raiders, do you like, all right, well, shit, should we go get Deshaun Watson now? Like,
I mean, Derek Carr's not that bad.
I don't think he's that bad, but now he's clearly the worst division or quarterback in that division now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like at that point, you're like,
because Drew Lock just like I forgot who was it that even posted this, but like Drew Lock just escaped like the biggest moment possible with the Aaron Rodgers situation.
Oh yeah,
who goes to see? I guess it's Drew Lock go to Seattle.
I don't know. Like, so the terms haven't come out yet as far as the trade goes. It looks like it just says everything it said is additional picks, including multiple first-round picks, additional picks, and players. So I'm curious to see who Seattle's going to get. I'm assuming it's going to be like Drew Lock. Maybe it's Teddy. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater goes to Seattle. I love me some Teddy Bridgewater.
I don't care.
We'll see. But Aaron Rodgers, the drama's done with that. 4 years, $200 million.
Wait, how much was it?
200? 4 years, $200 million. So he's going to retire
for like the fucking Yankees. Like, that's incredible. Good for him.
Yeah. So like maybe people will learn to realize that the NFL salary cap is a myth and it's not real.
It is not real at all.
It's not real at all. Like it's mental. It's like number gymnastics. You just back in the shit out of it, and then it's next year's problem.
Right.
We've been doing it for years.
Yeah, it's fair.
So I'm so glad that it's done. I like this whole speculation of shit. So it's like clearly everyone was waiting on Aaron Rodgers to make up his mind today. And then Denver was like, fuck it. Let's go get Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
The second.
It'll be interesting to see if they trade. I mean, like, it's a good point with the trade thing because, and now, like, God, I feel bad for DK Metcalf. Not only because his hair, but like, he's going to have to be able to, I mean, he better find someone to throw him the ball.
I mean,
Russell Wilson also, like, I just to be honest, man, and this is my ex is a big Seahawks fan. And it was charming at first. But Russell Wilson, I've never been able to take him seriously. Ever since he made that video before he got married to Sierra, where he was like, y'all pray for me, dude. Like, I'm trying not to have sex with Sierra. We're trying to stay till marriage. And I'm like, this is too much information even for me. And I all the time on social media. And he's like, he's like saying this whole thing. And then I'm sitting there thinking like, this is so weird for me. And we're all adults here. So it's like, you're going to be in relationships like this at some point, most likely, unless you're from fucking Topeka and you marry your high school sweetheart. But like, yeah, whoever you end up marrying most likely had sex with somebody else. When it was that public that it was Future's baby he was raising. And then he was like, y'all like, man, try my best not to have sex before marriage. It's like, again, this is too much information for us. It's very uncomfortable. Everyone else has already seen her goodies and besides you. And then also, I'll never forget the fact that when he came to I think it was 2012, maybe. No, it was the year we went to the Super Bowl and fucking blew it, which we're not going to talk about. 2016.
That was 2016, yeah.
Yeah, when they came here, shut up. When they came here for the I fucking hate Saints fans. When he came here for the playoffs, every time he touched the ball, like every time he came out on the field, the DJ at the Georgia Dome played a Future song, and it was fucking hilarious.
That's great. Yeah. Oh my god, that's like next level petty, and I respect it.
Let's talk about another player that the Falcons have beaten multiple times in an NFC Championship.
Ooh,
Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh, look at that hot take. Not even a hot take, just hot diss.
I don't think it's real. I think we've only beaten him once, but no, like Aaron Rodgers, I think he's a great quarterback. You're right. I think that it's cool that he's going back to Green Bay. That's such a weird, like Green Bay is kind of like, this is going to be people aren't going to like this example, but it's they're like Oklahoma State in terms of everyone forgets about Oklahoma State until like October or November. It's like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about that. They're 8-1. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, they're pretty good.
Yeah,
and then it's like, and then you have to sit here and hear about this offense or defense, whichever one it is at the time for Oklahoma State, and like how they're going to be a playoff team and all this kind of stuff. Like. Because they're not as like the Packers aren't as relevant as like a Notre Dame, but they are constantly in the discussion to make like, the playoffs or be, and they're in a shit division, just an absolute. They're in a shit division with like the fact that those cities are actual. Like the only way that division could get less appealing, like aesthetically, and I know Chicago's in there, and I love Chicago, but like if you were telling me like, hey, we're gonna play in division, and it's only gonna be Minneapolis. Green Bay, like, oh, not Milwaukee, no, Green Bay. There's literally a fucking 2-bedroom home across the street from the stadium, and then we've got Detroit. Like, fucking throw Cleveland in there then while we're at it. Like, this is the grossest division ever.
Hey, Cleveland's not a bad city, okay? Cleveland's actually kind of fun.
It's got a cool little sports bar scene downtown. They've done a good job with like the rebuild on it, but for the most part, that place sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been to Detroit one time and hopefully never.
How many hubcaps were stolen from your car?
I traveled in, so I didn't have a car. Thank God. But I love Chicago. Chicago is probably one of my favorite cities.
Let me give you a hot take that no one ever thinks makes sense, but it does.
Okay.
The state of Ohio and the state of Arizona are the same place, and here's why. Here's why. The weather is very different. Here's why. Think about the fact that for no reason at all, between 8 to 11 cities in both of those states. There's no reason I know where Yuma, Arizona is. I probably couldn't put it on a map, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Dayton, Toledo. Like we know all these. It's the same place. It's the same place.
Okay. That's an interesting take. Okay.
Yeah. It's
like that. Okay. So Aaron Rodgers is going to retire a Packer now, most likely. Yeah. He's done doing his whole like last day, which is so funny because he did that whole last dance shit at the end of the year. Or the beginning of the season last year, and then he goes out and he gets blown out by 35 in week 1, which I was like, oh, this is off to a great start.
Yeah, it's not good.
So we'll end on this because I just have one more question to ask. And
oh God.
You get to put 3 people in a group chat. It can be anyone in
It's like a golf thing. I hate this.
No. In a group chat, like a text group chat.
But it's the same premise, right? Like who's
it going to be? It can be anybody you want.
Now, listen, I like to play this game differently. Like, and we're not going to do it today, obviously. But I always, especially around Masters time, that you hear the same things. Like, all right, dream golf foursome. I always like to ask the nightmare golf foursome. Like, who would you not like? I did this to Danny Cannell, and he was like, I was like, you can't add yourself. So think about that, DK, because I love Danny Cannell. But
that makes one.
All right, so dream group chat.
Okay, so you put SEC people though. We'll do SEC.
Man, I feel like I'm in a group chat that you would be very envious of, and it goes off every day, and it's with Kristen Saban and Paige.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the show for sure. So Saban would not be in it because I don't think he would man. Because it'd have to be
Lane would be in mine.
Lane would be in it for sure. Lane, like, is it like current? Did it have to be current?
No. It can be past and present.
Lane Kiffin, Will Muschamp. That's tough. Lane Kiffin, Will Muschamp, probably Joe Burrow.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know how active he would be because, like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just say it. Lane Kiffin, Coach O, and Will Muschamp. And the reason why is because Coach O's stories. Muschamp is low key funny. I mean, he's a terrible coach, and he, again, like we've taken the whole U.S. Senator thing from earlier.
Yeah.
There's like a select few people in this conference that are like U.S. senators where they just will never lose their job ever. And it like Muschamp, fucking Mike Bobo, all of those guys. They will always have a job in this conference for some reason. But I think Muschamp's got some stories too.
Mine would be Steve Spurrier, Lane Kiffin, and Mac Jones.
That's way better. That's a way better group check. Yeah.
I feel like that'd be a really fun happy hour group.
Yeah, that's true. It's 2:00. I gotta go. I gotta work.
Okay. Well, okay. So that is going to wrap it up for this week of the Ox Court podcast presented by Maker's Mark and Boot Crew Media. Sorry, I'm rushing out. You can find me online at The Real Cruise Ox on Instagram and Twitter. Please go follow the Ox Court podcast on Instagram and Twitter as well. And go subscribe to Boot Crew Media on YouTube. Chris Marler, how can people find you online?
So I'm Vern Funquist on Twitter. Usually you can just find me getting my mentions just absolutely pillaged by SEC fans who are angry about me or at me for something. So at Vern Funquist on there and on Instagram. And then the, like I said, SDS, Saturday on South, go follow that. But also follow the Cultural Uncensored podcast and go subscribe to our YouTube page for SDS because that's how I get to keep my job now. So
it's true. Wow. And we want Chris employed. Well, we love you guys and we will see you next week.